caritas Deus ibi est, ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton. My name is Richard Douglas Chin, and I am your service leader this morning. And a special welcome to our sisters and brothers from the Peterborough congregation who are joining us today. You're also welcome to stay after service for our small group chat rooms. Our call to worship is from two spiritual leaders, the first from Omid Safi, a Muslim scholar. The Sufis say that love is not an emotion. It is the very being of God unleashed onto this realm. So it's helpful to think of this love as an oceanic wave that pours through you. And when it pours out of your heart, out into the public square, we recognize it as justice. The second is from Vincent Harding, friend and speechwriter to Dr. Martin Luther King. We are in a fascinating, powerful, and perplexing time. My assumption is that's why we were created with such tremendous capacities, to deal with perplexing situations. That's why some of us believe that there is within us the creative power of the universe, that God dwells in us. Now, what's the point of God dwelling with us if we don't have any tough jobs to do? God's wasting God's time if there is no tough stuff to work on.
Please join me in saying together our unison words for lighting our chalice. May this flame be our light of friendship and love.
347, gather the Spirit. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials by this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in awe, dawned by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
We're going to take a short time for contemplation now, and I invite you to get comfortable and take a deep breath as you listen to these words from Richard Wagamis. After these words, there'll be a couple of moments of silence, and then we'll join together with Cindy to do some chanting. Something that most do not understand about my people: when we stand up in acts of resistance to things that threaten our spiritual, physical, emotional, and intellectual well-being, it's not because we hate what's in front of us. It's because we love what's behind us. We love our homes, our families, our communities, our nations, our ceremonies and our teachings, our cultural ways, our histories, and the land from which those things spring. In that, we are like everyone, anywhere, throughout the course of human history. who has ever stood up in resistance.
Good morning. Today's chant is Hari Om, Shiva Om, from the Hindu tradition. Means, O divine energy, protect and deliver us. Please join Joanne on the repeats and have a nice deep breath in between. Hari Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Hari Om, 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 Hari Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Hari Om.
A while back, there was a call in Hamilton for religious leaders to speak out against anti-Semitic actions that had erupted in our community. I met with our neighbor on Aberdeen, Rabbi Hillel, and other church leaders, and we considered our responses and how to support the synagogues and their congregations. I know many of you here in Hamilton are familiar with Deirdre Pike from her social activism in Hamilton and from her work with the city and for her column that is in our local newspaper, The Spectator. I've had the opportunity to work with Deirdre on numerous occasions, and we get along great and have developed a friendly relationship. So when I walked into that meeting, and this was pre-COVID, of course, Deirdre was there and she said, "Oh, the Unitarians are in the room. Great. We can always count on you to show up." Now, when we had a moment to chat a little more personally in that meeting, she said her comments were about her experience of how Unitarians are known to care about and get involved with issues of social justice. That we are famous, so to speak, in our communities for speaking out and showing up when the call goes out in support of people in need or issues of equity or justice. I guess it was sort of a, never fear, the Unitarians are here kind of feeling. So, yes, we seem to have a reputation about our commitments to social justice. And while I know people at times may not understand our theology or our relationship to Christianity, they may not know what we believe about the Bible, but they are very aware of our progressive stance on LGBTQ two-spirited plus lives and rights, support for those who are in need, how we feel about peacemaking and equity, and all of the things that comprise issues of our concern in the community. And I think that that reputation is something of which we are quite proud, actually. I know we wish that more of those who knew about our passion for social justice and what we care about would also show a passion for joining us on Sunday mornings or being a part of our church community. But we are justifiably proud that at least they know we care about what happens to people, to animals, to the land, to economics, to governance, to the arts, and the many other realities of our neighborhoods, and that we're frankly willing to do something about it. For both of the branches of our faith, both Unitarian and Universalist, it has been ever thus. And as you know, our two historical denominations joined up together in 1961, but our engagement in causes of social importance predates our affiliation. It goes all the way back to our historical roots in the 1500s. In locations all around the world where you find Unitarian and or Universalist and or UU churches and congregations, you also find people who march and write letters, speak up, volunteer, donate money and time, testify, witness at city council meetings, and all of the other work of making the world a better place for everyone. We know that Unitarians care about not only what happens within our church walls, but in the larger world as well. Even when we talk about giving to the church, about making a pledge of financial support, we often talk about the concept of a liberal tithe, 5% to the church and 5% to social causes that call for our attention in the broader community. So why do we care so much about this? Well, our concerns are reflected in our 7 principles, which in turn continue to inform our actions as a denomination and as individuals. We affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and that takes work. We seek justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and that takes vigilance. Our goal is a world community that allows each person to experience peace and liberty and justice, and that takes time and energy. And we acknowledge our part of the larger interconnected web, which we seek to respect, and that too takes our effort. Our 7 principles evolved from the historic concerns and values of our ancestors in faith, and the current wording grew out of principles long held in our denominations, supporting the worth of the individual and all individuals, while acknowledging that we have a role and responsibility in working to create a larger world that reflects our principles and our values. And we know that you can't just write aspirational words on a page and expect the rest of the world will fall into order because you want it to be that way. We know, and sometimes we get tired, but we know it takes work and more energy and more focus. And we have been willing to step forward and be loud and be visible and exert our influence to bend the arc of history toward justice. You're probably familiar with that quote, and I'll bet you think that Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said it first. Well, he did say it, but he didn't say it first. The first person to say that was Unitarian minister Theodore Parker, and it was originally cited in a collection of his sermons from 1853. What he actually said is, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one, and my eye reaches but a little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. And from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice." Now, that particular quote, as you might guess from the date, arose in conversations about the elimination of slavery in the United States and around the world, and Unitarian Universalists were very active. And there were Canadian Unitarians and Universalists involved in that fight as well. Canada was not exempt from dealing with slavery. Through those years, our brothers and sisters in faith have addressed, throughout all of our years, our brothers and sisters in faith have addressed issues from slavery to abortion rights, equal marriage to ecology, voting rights and civil rights and women's rights and the right to choose one's death, from sustainable eating to pacifism and peacemaking. You have only to look at the content of our records from our annual general meetings and our conversations and minutes in our annual meetings with our denomination and our congregation at General Assembly. You know, we've discussed and debated, we've written position papers, we've witnessed at marches and protests. We've learned how to approach our representatives in government to advocate for our beliefs and our positions. We've decided to get involved, we've raised funds, we've opened our sanctuaries and churches as places of safe refuge, and we've also worked, to make some people uncomfortable, even some of our fellow congregants. In ways I'm sure we have truly embraced the call to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. Even though we share principles and beliefs, there still exists within UU a range of behaviors and approaches to living out these values. There are Unitarians who were slave owners, and some of whom believed that slavery could only be eliminated gradually by phases over time, but not by immediately ending the slave trade or freeing people. And there are people of good conscience who eat meat, even as they advocate for more humane treatment of animals. And some of our flock would like to see expanded availability of and access to birth control instead of the use of abortion. Although we share values and beliefs, we are not of one mind. But as our ancestor in faith has told us, Francis David, if you will remember, said, "We need not think alike to love alike." Yes, we do have differences of opinion. Back about 4 or 5 years ago when we, in this congregation, began a process of discernment about how to address issues of social justice as a congregation. You'll remember when we started, if you were part of that process, we had over 100 potential causes listed on pieces of flip chart paper on the wall. We had no end of opportunities about where to focus our energy. And fortunately or unfortunately, there never seems to be a lack of issues or concerns or wrongs and causes to which we could turn our attention and resources. It took us a lot of work together, a lot of talking, a lot of opening our minds and hearts to choose where we as a congregation would focus our efforts as a faith community. And even after we made our choices of sexual and gender justice, affordable housing, and direct service through the Eva Rothwell Center, we've continually been faced with other emerging community and world needs. The Syrian refugee crisis, Black Lives Matter, community pandemics, safe water and food security for indigenous communities. It's still out there. And there are many other issues that have not gone away. Anti-Semitism, where I started today, racism, poverty, food scarcity, violence against women and children. It hurts my heart to know that the list goes on. Unitarian Universalist care, because that is who we are as a people of faith. We come to this church, this denomination, because of its values and its principles and how they speak to our understanding of what we believe it means to be human, of what we are compelled to do to work toward a just and equitable and peaceful community for everyone. We are here because we want to be with people who are like-minded and like-hearted, to encourage and be encouraged by others who share our vision of a better world. And we keep taking action, showing up, raising our voices, sharing our resources, because we believe, as Theodore Parker said, that the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice. But it only happens because we get in there with our engagement and our commitment, our vigilance, our caring and concern. So, letting our conscience be our guide, let us continue to join together in living our values, representing our causes, and speaking our truth to power. Like today's story author said, say something. You know, we have a reputation, and I know it's one we want to uphold, especially in these very challenging times. Blessed be.
10:18, come and go with me. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound.
Our benediction is by Kiyama Rahman. It is that time and place to call on the memories of the ancestors who reached a little deeper and prayed yet another prayer. Did you not know that this day would come? Have you not seen the greatness and power of the creative energy in the universe called God that moves and has its being through human agency? Have you not seen God in your neighbors' faces? In the homeless, in the battered woman, the trafficked child, the undocumented worker, the dispossessed? It is that time and that place to know that it is our turn, that we must leave a legacy for our children. We are the ones we've been waiting for that. Let us be eternally grateful.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I just wanted to give a little bit of background about the song that I'll be singing today. So it was written by Stefani Germanotta, or you likely know her as Lady Gaga. So this song was written about the murder of Trayvon Martin, a young black teenager. He's only one of many, many black, indigenous, and youth of color who have lost their lives due to anti-black racism. She said, "I was overwhelmed that people just stood around and didn't do anything about it, and that the justice system continues to over and over again not seek justice for these families." She later went on to say, "I absolutely cannot write anything that does not have a voice and a purpose in the universe. Why would I have this voice? Why would I have this platform?" I think these quotes really speak to what it means to be an ally and what it means to be a faith community. I do believe that when we don't speak up, our silence is violence. This is Angel Down.
I confess I am lost in the age of the social. On our knees, take a test to be loving and grateful. Shots were fired on the street by the church where we used to meet. Angel down, but the people just stood around. I'm a believer, it's a trial, foolish and weaker. Oh, I'd rather save an angel down. I'm a believer, it's chaos, where are our leaders? Oh, I'd rather save an angel down. Doesn't everyone belong in the arms of the sacred? Why do we pretend we're wrong? Has our young courage faded? Shots were fired on the street by the church where we used to meet. Angel down, why do people just stand around? I'm a believer, it's a trial, foolish and weaker. Oh, I'd rather save an angel down. I'm a believer, it's chaos, where are our leaders? Oh, I'd rather save an angel down. I'm a believer, it's a trial, foolish and weaker. Oh, I'd rather save an angel down. I'm a believer, it's chaos, where are our leaders? Oh, I'd rather save an angel down. I'd rather save an angel down.